All the things that I got in trouble for as a teenager made my life great as an adult. Some of the same personality quirks.
Mainly I was getting in trouble for fighting, but I guess I did well as an adult.
Well, at least you made a career out of it.
Yeah, well, exactly.
The video you're about to watch is just a small segment from a much longer and more in-depth interview that's included inside my new digital program, The 10 Commandments of Wealth. Click that link and get your name on the 10 Commandments of Wealth early action guest list. When you do, you'll secure your invitation to a private and live webcast discussion with me. And you'll also become eligible to get your copy of the 10 Commandments of Wealth 10 days early. Click that link, get your ass on the webcast. I'll see you inside.
Today I get to chat with the Count, Michael Bisping. You're a two-time champion, I believe, yeah?
Well, I defended the belt once, so yeah. I guess two-time
That's
champion.
That's a two-time champion. Yeah. We've come to the conclusion Michael's been a two-time champion. He's now a commentator at UFC. You do great interviews in the rings. I watch your timing on those. So you have an amazing timing to get all the key nuggets, but keep the show on schedule and keep people engaged. I think a lot of people don't see the nuances of that if they haven't had to think about speaking or dealing with the public themselves, it would be normal. They wouldn't see some of the little nuanced things that you do that are really quite brilliant and on point to get fantastic nuggets from the people and let them tell their story, but also, know when to cut things off.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because sometimes on Twitter people are like, you should have let him carry on going or ask more questions. It's like, we've got a TV schedule. We're going to go to commercial break. We can't just stand here and let them hold court for the next 30 minutes. But thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words.
No, you do it extremely well. I see why you're in that position. And something I enjoy chatting about, and so the reason that people care about my opinion is we talk about things of how to actually get things done in life, not necessarily the pretty version or the sugar-coated version, but what is the reality of what it takes for a mere mortal to be born and go on to create great success in some area.
Yeah.
And you and I were just chatting about this a moment before we started filming about some of the things that a person has to say no to in order to say yes to the things that they want most. What were some of the things in your life that you had to say no to be a multi-time world champion and to be the person well known and well regarded around the world that you are today?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's not an uncommon story. Fighters generally come from some kind of struggled background. Although mine was too bad. My mum and dad were great, but money was very, very tight growing up. Became a professional fighter after doing every dead-end job under the sun and just sick of being broke and wanting to give my family, my children a better life. Had a great career. It far exceeded all my expectations, but of course you can't be an athlete forever. So I retired in 2017, and then now, I guess, I don't know how I'd describe myself. I do a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, I commentate, I have business adventures, gyms, whatever. I'm pulled in many, many different directions. So to answer your question, it's like, because of maybe my background, I don't want to leave things on the table. Do you know what I mean? So there's not enough hours in the day for me right now. My wife's always saying, Michael, you have literally got to say no to these things going forward because, I'm very blessed, I guess, that I'm in a position where I can maybe start to say no to things, but I'm certainly not trying to sit here and brag, but, being a former fighter, like all athletes, not just fighters, everyone worries about what they're going to do post-athletic career. Yeah. Certainly fighters, you know what I mean? You see it all the time, They're washed up, yesterday's news, no money, all the rest of it. So I think it's that mentality that still keeps me driving. But I do definitely need to start turning things down. Not things like this, though, of course.
Well, who wouldn't want to spend their holiday weekends, their birthday weekends with Derek Moneyberg?
Vegas Marathon going on right now. I'd rather be here.
The saying, Warren Buffett has a saying about this sort of thing. He says you should have 99 no's for every one yes. That if you want to be successful at something, that no has to be the default answer to most things. And going back to early stages, I had some similar overlap that not much money in the house. I was focused on money. That's been my obsession in life. And
same here.
I just think of money equals freedom. And I didn't feel like I had a lot of freedom as a kid. That my father was away. My father was in prison for most of my childhood. At one time we had, my father went to prison for drug trafficking. So we had a couple $1 million in the early 80s when that was still quite a lot of money. And then we went from that
It's a lot of money now.
Well, $1 million could buy a really nice parking spot in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
$1 million could buy maybe like a studio apartment in Harlem, not in Manhattan.
$1 million will go far where I'm from.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Clitheroe, small little town in the northwest of England. You got $1 million there, you're a rich man.
We probably buy some sheep and have some of that flowy.
Hey,
flowy
there
English
you go.
wine.
Do whatever you want. And you want to buy sheep? That's your thing. I'm good.
It's not what it used to be. In any case, yeah, we went from that to having like welfare, turkey delivered for Thanksgiving, charities, things like this, and that really bothered me. That I saw that contrast from, having enough financial abundance, not extreme wealth by any means, but having enough financial abundance that you could. If my dad wanted something, he could go buy it, and we had a relative comfort at home. And then all of that was gone, and then I thought, well, this really sucks. Like, poverty kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And it was American poverty, and I've traveled a lot, and you've been
Sure,
all over the world too. So I do like to make that note. It's American poverty, not real third world poverty. That I've seen that, and I'm respectful of the difference.
Which is fair to point out.
I'm respectful of the difference.
No, absolutely.
If you're poor in America, you still have comforts that most people
generally
other people wish they had in other parts of the world. So that's a fair comment. I didn't like the kids would make fun of me in school. I didn't like the resource constraints. I knew I wanted to go do something. I wanted to go. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do because I didn't have good role models or good mentors. But so I had a good functioning brain. I was never lazy. I was willing to work hard, but I didn't know what the hell to do. So it kind of became a quest to me to find good mentors, good role models, good teachers, etc. that would point you in a better direction in life. So that's how that started for the early stage for me. And I did a lot of guess and check. You don't know exactly what to do, and I was in quite a bit of mischief as a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, you both.
All the things that I got in trouble for as a teenager made my life great as an adult. Some of the same personality quirks.
Mainly I was getting in trouble for fighting, but I guess I did well as an adult.
Well, at least you made a career out of it.
Yeah, well, exactly.
You turned it into a good chunk of wealth and a lot of life experiences that most people would never enjoy. So I had to, and I'm curious for your story. Surely you have an analog story, but I had to focus. For me, I wanted to focus on education. I needed to. I knew that if I wanted to have better outcomes, then I had to have better knowledge than other people and better execution than other people. And if you're dumb and lazy, you're just not going to get much done in life.
Sure.
And smart's not enough. There's a lot of smart people that aren't prone to taking much action, and it doesn't change their outcomes much. But if you just have the hustle without much smarts, then you might go working really hard. But if you're working really hard on the wrong things, you might be making your life quite a lot worse. So that was the thought that I had in my head, that I better get the best information that I could in my head, and I better make sure that I'm executing on that and making something useful come from it. And when I really had that sense of personal responsibility and thinking in that way, that I was responsible for my outcomes and I was responsible for the good and the shit things in my life if I was going to stay there. When you're a kid, it might not be your fault. But if you're an adult, you keep saying, well, it's not my fault.
It might not be your fault, but it shows how your responsibility.
Totally agree. That frustrated kid is still alive in my head a little bit.
Yeah,
and,
no, me and you both.
That helped me get a lot of things done.
Yeah.
Something people say, I'm curious your take on this. I suspect I know what it is, but people mistake me on the internet. So, I'm a motivation coach.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, I'm not here to motivate anybody at all. That if you're not already motivated, I wouldn't anticipate having the best outcomes in life.
Yeah.
And motivation's not even enough. There must be many times in your career that you weren't motivated. You didn't feel like going to the gym. You didn't feel like going for sparring or whatnot, or doing the things that weight cuts. The weight cut would be the hardest part for me.
They suck.
What are some of the tools that you used or psychological thought processes you had when you had to do some things that maybe you didn't feel like doing today?
Yeah. I mean, for me, as I said before, growing up sounds like a similar kind of situation. Far from a silver spoon in my mouth. Left school at 16 in the northwest of England, dead-end job after dead-end job. And I met my wife, then girlfriend. We had 2 children. And I was, you're working. At the end of the week, you're still broke. I'm like, is this it? Is this my life? Is this what I'm destined for? And I'd messed around for a few years and partied and whatnot. You're a young man. But now I had children, I'm like, I want to give them the best life possible. And I was working at this factory, and my supervisor there, he said, Michael, you seem like a pretty smart guy. He said, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? He said, do you want to do this? I said, no offense. He said, well, you need to give it some thought. He said, because before you know it, he said, you know, your youth will have passed you by and it'll be too late. So he got me thinking, and I thought about it long and hard. And I'd done a lot of martial arts as a kid. I was very, I guess you could say I was a gifted martial artist. I won a lot of tournament. I won every tournament I ever entered, and I also, you know, I used to get into a lot of fights as well, and that was kind of my identity, which was obviously a personality flaw and a psychology. You know, there's something going on there. I was looking for validation or wanting people to like me and stuff like that, you know. Anyway, because of that, I'd been in trouble. I'd been arrested a few times and whatnot. And I kept coming back to the same thing, which was professional fighting. And I went into work one day. I said, hey, Mick, I figured out what I want to do. He said, oh, what's that? And he puts his tools down, he walks over, he's rubbing his hands. What's the big idea? I said, I'm going to be a professional fighter. And he was like, oh, my God. No, Mick, trust me. I've done martial. Anyway, he thought I was a fool. I tracked down this old sensei of mine, because he was always like trying to, when I was partying from like 18 to 21, you know, he was always trying to tell me about professional martial arts, something called the UFC, you know, and I wasn't interested at all. So I called him up, and I got hold of him, and he told me all about, as I said, something called the UFC. I'd never even heard of it. And I said, hold on, is that not really dangerous? He said, I'll never put you in a life-changing fight unless there's a life-changing check. And I thought, oh, life-changing checks, that sounds good. Bearing in mind, my first ever professional fight, I got paid $0 because that's how it is. You start at the bottom. And then slowly but surely, you know, we came up with this plan. I moved away. I started training. 3 months later, I had my first professional fight. Within 2 years, I was on The Ultimate Fighter. And I always say, you know, I believe everyone has a skill. Everyone's good at something, you know what I mean? Maybe they don't have the confidence to realize it or put it out there, but most people have a skill. Think what that skill is. Because that's what I did. I did some soul searching. What am I going to do? What am I good at? What am I really good at? I'm like, I'm good at fighting. So that's why I started doing this. And that sounds weird for some people to hear, but well, it turns out I was right. I became UFC champion of the world. You know, so, but as I said, everyone has I think most people have a skill. Figure out what that skill is, and then think about where that can take you. And that's all well and good, but then you've got to get off your ass and then put it into practice. Regardless of what it is. I mean, mine was fighting. It could be doing a podcast, maybe it's being a cameraman, sewing, who knows what it is. But generally most people have a flair for something. You know, figure out what that is, put a plan in place. What's the absolute pinnacle of that, where you can go, how, you know, and then figure out a plan of how you're going to get there. And then it's the hard part, you know. Now you got to get off your ass and do it.
The daily grind.
And starting at the bottom, and no one caring, and no one giving it down, and working for free and all the rest of it, and grinding and grinding and grinding. And if you're willing to put that hard work in and you're motivated, and maybe a little bit of luck along the way as well, that always helps. But you'll get somewhere. And more importantly, you'll be doing what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like for me, when I started doing this, of course, it seems like a great lifestyle now, but it wasn't back in the day. You know, I was sleeping in my car. You know, in the middle of winter in Nottingham, England, sleeping in this shitty old car, getting up, going to the gym, training, away from my family, and you know, like people talk about fights and they think, oh, it's glamorous, you know, because you walk out now in front of 20,000 people and all the rest of it. You get paid, everyone's cheering your name. When you get out of bed on a random Tuesday morning and your body's aching from head to toe and you've got to go into the gym and you've got to spar a bunch of guys that are waiting for you, there's no crowd. There's no check, there's no nothing, you know what I mean? But you still got to go do that, because doing that and going through that is what's going to help you on the night, you know, so, yeah.
A lot of people don't see that part of that story. They look at, so, you know, oh, you made millions of dollars and you're, you know, world famous and well respected, and the, you know, overnight success.
Yeah, no, far from it, yeah. They don't see that. No, that's right. They see the final product, and they don't know. They say, oh, it's easy for you. It's great for you. Really? Do you know what I've been through to get here? And do you know what I sacrificed? And my wife sacrificed? I was very lucky. I've got a great wife, and she was very supportive. You know, and without her, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now. So having a good support network and some decent people around you helps. You know, not everyone's fortunate enough to have that. So you can't rely on that. The only person you can rely on ultimately is yourself. 100%.
Yeah. Everybody that I've spoken to that's you've been to that elite level that you have, a multi-time world champion, which is an extraordinary story. It's hard to be on the damn roster at all. It's hard to be in the top 15. It's hard as hell to be in the top 5. To be a multi-time champion, especially having, by the time your skill set is up to that, you have wear and tear on your body, you have other circumstances that most people can't even understand the effort that it takes to be that person. Have you seen anybody with that championship belt, with an Olympic gold medal or trophy held high above their head and the universal sign of victory? Have you ever seen anybody that actually could say they did that by themselves? Everybody that I know has had a fantastic coach, mentor, training partners.
Absolutely, and it's absolutely crucial. But it's, as I said, Jason Perillo, my boxing coach, he definitely became a mentor of mine and helped me get to that next level and helped me understand the finer mental nuances of the fight game. But I had a thought a moment ago while you were talking. It's like a lot of people in the UFC, for example, you start off, on the regional scene, and it's not glamorous. There's no money or whatever, but you've got a goal, right? You want to get to the UFC, you want to hopefully be a champion one day. And a lot of people, they think when they get to the UFC, they've made it. They've done it. We're here. Great. It's like, no. This is where the hard work really starts. Now you're in the UFC, great. Now you got to get off your ass and work even harder. You know what I mean? You have the opportunity there, and it's up to you to, of course, you can't control whether or not you win or lose the fight, but you can do the hard work to try and guarantee yourself the best possible outcome. If you sit on your ass and you don't work, you don't do everything what's expected of you, what your coaches expect of you, you're probably going to lose your fights. And again, it crosses over to business or whatever, but it's down to you. I mean, you get to the UFC, and now it's, as I said, now you got to step on the gas even harder. Now you got to work even more. You got to put even longer hours in and all the rest of it. And I see these people now, they get to the UFC and they think, that's it, we're made, we're set, we're on TV, we're fighting. So what are you talking about? You lose a few fights, you're out the door, and you're back to square one, back to where it all started.
And you didn't make much money along the way at that level?
No, you don't make any money until you get to the big leagues, so to speak, quote unquote, And I guess that's what always kept me pushing hard, because I never wanted to go back to the kind of life that I had. It's like they say, once you fly first class, you never want to go back to economy. Do you know what I mean? And you get a little taste of it, and you're like, okay, I like this lifestyle. I want to stay living this kind of life, and I want to give my children a great life. So, you got to work your ass off. Simple as that, really. I mean, I'm not the deepest person, but there you go.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you got a lot of things going on in your life. You're pulled in a lot of directions. You got a new documentary coming out in March.
Yes.
Bisping.
Yeah, I know.
Bisping name.
Pretty obvious title.
Pick
Not very imaginative.
Pick the name yourself.
It wasn't
no
me.
doubt.
It was called Built. It was called Built for this, but then we got picked up by Universal Studios, and they decided to change the name. Hey, as we said, we like looking in the mirror.
I think it's fantastically named. I'm excited to see it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you spending time together on a birthday
Yeah,
weekend.
no, really enjoyed it, actually. Yeah, very, enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Derek. Appreciate it.
Derek Moneyberg presents The 10 Commandments of Wealth.
In my adult life, I haven't been afraid of asking for help, all through people who are kicking ass and doing it. Not through books necessarily, not through these things, but through the people who are actually living it.
20 interviews from the clients, 10 training modules, the 10 commandments of wealth, the 10 things that you must know to create some wealth. Champion interviews, champion after champion after champion.
The best fighters in the world. Even as an amateur, as a teenager, I was already sparring with, championship level fighters.
You're either getting better or you're getting worse. You don't stay the same, so it's your choice. Do you want to get better or do you want to get worse?
Your life's already paid for. Why do you go out of your way to make a relationship with me and go through these mentoring courses?
When I first heard about your course and it became available, for me it was a God-given opportunity. I actually felt very, very blessed.
You can't help people who don't want to be helped. So we only want to be around the ones that want to be helped. Most people didn't inherit the wealth, and those who are at a higher level and see someone like grinding and wanting to get up in life, we'll help you up as long as you want to be helped.
Can you be a good investor if you can't read the quarterly statements, annual statements?
It's impossible. How do you know what you're investing in? How do you know what stock you're buying? How do you know what it's worth if you can't read those financial reports?
I made more this last year than I've ever made in a given calendar year.
The Moneyberg programs helped me to increase my entrepreneurial income by 349% from 2020 to 2021. Furthermore, the real estate riches increased my rental income by 33%.